Close your eyes and picture this. A bustling stone castle perched on a windswept hill. Inside, deep in the heart of its echoing halls, hundreds of hands are at work. The scent of wood smoke curls through the air. Iron cauldrons bubble beside open flames. Knives rhythmically strike wooden boards. The soft shuffle of boots on stone echoes through vaulted chambers. Now imagine feeding over 1,000 people. Every single day. No electricity. No fridges humming in the background. No vacuum-sealed bags or plastic wrap in sight. Just the raw elements: stone, smoke, salt, and centuries of hard-earned culinary mastery. This wasn't just about surviving. It was about thriving. It was about ensuring that not a single slab of meat spoiled, that grains didn't rot, that fruits didn't turn to mush before winter hit. This was medieval meal prep, and it was nothing short of genius. Because what you're about to discover isn't just history. It's engineering. It's strategy. It's a hidden world where food preservation meant power, prosperity, and sometimes, survival itself. At first glance, a medieval castle might seem like just a fortress of stone, built for war, defense, and domination. But behind the battlements, beneath the great halls, and hidden within winding tunnels was something just as vital as swords or soldiers: food. And not just any food system. A masterfully engineered network designed to withstand time, weather, and war. In the heart of these castles was a culinary command center, designed not only to serve nobles at grand feasts, but to nourish armies, sustain entire communities, and preserve order during the darkest months of winter. Food was strategy. Food was status. Food was survival. This episode is your all-access pass into that hidden world. A world where pickling wasn't a hobby, it was a necessity. Where honey wasn't just sweet, it was sacred. Where a single saltmaster could hold the fate of a fortress in their hands. We're peeling back the layers of smoke, stone, and spice to show you how castles stored enough food to feed over 1,000 people, and how those ancient techniques still shape what's on your plate today. From smoky meat chambers that rival modern barbecue pits to 100-gallon barrels bubbling with pickled vegetables, this is the story of medieval meal prep, as you've never seen it before. Now here's a question for you. Out of all these ingenious medieval methods, which one blows your mind the most? Was it the sheer scale of the pickling vats? The role of honey in preserving entire geese? Or maybe the meticulous record-keeping with tally sticks and marked barrels? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop your favorite in the comments below. And if you believe food history deserves its moment in the spotlight, give this video a thumbs up. It helps more curious minds uncover the delicious secrets of our past. Let's begin where medieval food preservation truly started, deep beneath the stone floors, where time seemed to slow and the world grew cold. These were no ordinary basements. Medieval castles were often built with vast, stone-lined cellars that plunged deep into the earth. Not by chance, but by brilliant design. Down here, the air stayed consistently cool, shielded from the scorching summers and freezing winters above. Thick stone walls and natural insulation from the surrounding earth turned these chambers into nature's very own refrigerators. But these spaces weren't just about keeping things cold, they were strategic storage hubs. Meat was always kept in the lowest, coldest recesses, hung high to avoid pests and allow air to circulate. Wheels of cheese rested carefully on angled wooden shelves, letting moisture drain away as they aged into hard, preserved forms. Barrels of wine, oak-aged and sealed, lined up neatly, slowly transforming in the cool darkness. Nothing about these cellars was random. From the layout to the airflow, everything was planned. Even small ventilation shafts were carved through thick stone to maintain just the right balance of humidity and temperature. In an age without a single watt of electricity, castles had mastered the physics of food storage. Underground, every degree mattered. Every shadow had a purpose. In the medieval world, salt wasn't just a seasoning, it was power. It was currency. It was life insurance in mineral form. Castles weren't only built on stone, they were sustained by salt. Some of the largest fortresses could consume over 5,000 pounds of it every year. And every single grain counted. This wasn't a sprinkle on a stew. This was preservation on an industrial scale. Enter the salt masters, elite custodians of preservation. These were no ordinary cooks. They were trained specialists who treated salt like alchemists working with gold. They knew precisely how to draw moisture from meat, how to layer salt around fish, and how to create salt beds to cradle blocks of cheese or pats of butter. Their work wasn't glamorous, but it was vital. Done wrong, an entire season's food could spoil. Done right, it could feed hundreds through the deepest winter. Salt worked because it pulled water out of flesh, stopping bacteria dead in its tracks. It hardened, cured, and transformed raw perishables into durable, travel-ready provisions. Sailors, soldiers, peasants, and lords alike owed their meals to this humble crystal. In a world without freezers or airtight packaging, salt was the original guardian of food security. Without it, medieval castles wouldn't have just faced hunger, they'd have faced collapse. Step outside the castle walls, and you'd find one of its most vital and aromatic lifelines, the smokehouse. These humble wooden outposts weren't just about flavor. They were a fortress's first line of defense against decay. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of fire and fat, of wood smoke and meat transforming into something built to last. Here, preservation was a dance of heat, of humidity, of time. Each type of wood told a different story. Oak, heavy and dense, gave strength, a bold, assertive smoke that clung to beef and game. Applewood, sweet and delicate, paired beautifully with pork and poultry. Alderwood offered a soft, balanced aroma, ideal for fish and lighter meats. The choice of wood wasn't random, it was intentional, precise. Flavor, longevity, and compatibility all had to align. Up to 200 pounds of meat passed through these smokehouses each day, managed by seasoned artisans who understood the fragile line between undersmoked and burnt. Timing was everything. Too short, and the meat spoiled. Too long, and it turned bitter or brittle. These masters adjusted vents, fed the flames, and rotated cuts with the patience of sculptors shaping edible stone. But the beauty of smoking went beyond preservation. It created flavor. Deep, rich, unforgettable layers of taste that we still chase in modern barbecue and charcuterie. In the medieval world, smoke wasn't just a tool, it was a signature. A mark of survival, yes, but also of culinary pride. Now, imagine the colossal scale of medieval pickling. Vast 100-gallon barrels filled to the brim with onions, eggs, cabbage, and other seasonal treasures, all bubbling quietly in their tangy, herb-infused baths. This wasn't a small-time hobby, it was a serious business, carefully overseen by a dedicated pickle master. Yes, that was a real job title in the castle hierarchy, entrusted with the secrets of preservation and flavor. Pickling was a marvel of science and patience, long before refrigeration. Vinegar. The sour guardian, combined with a fragrant chorus of herbs and spices, created an environment hostile to decay, but welcoming to the complex fermentation that preserved and enhanced foods. These massive vessels were tended with care and precision. The pickle master would monitor salt levels, temperature, and timing, ensuring that vegetables remained crisp, flavorful, and safe to eat for months on end. Each batch was a delicate balance, where too much salt or too little vinegar could spoil an entire season's supply. Remarkably, many of these ancient techniques survive today in gourmet kitchens around the world. From kimchi to sauerkraut, from pickled eggs to artisanal vinegars, medieval pickling laid the foundation for the tangy, fermented flavors we still crave. In every barrel, you can taste history, a story of survival, ingenuity, and culinary artistry that has traveled centuries to reach our plates. Honey was the medieval world's edible time capsule, a natural miracle sealed by bees, treasured by humans, and wielded as a powerful preserver. Beyond its role as a sweetener, honey's acidic pH and natural antimicrobial properties made it one of the most effective substances for keeping food safe and fresh for long periods. This was no ordinary sugar, it was a living, breathing preservative. Fruits were dipped and glazed in honey, locking in freshness and adding a complex, floral sweetness that made them a prized delicacy. But honey's preserving magic didn't stop there. Fish, a notoriously tricky food to keep from spoiling, was sometimes stored submerged in honey, turning it into a shelf-stable treat. Even whole geese were preserved using honey, sealed and cured in the viscous golden syrup, their flavors melding into an unforgettable feast that could withstand the harshest months. Beekeeping was a critical, respected castle industry. Skilled keepers nurtured hives, managing colonies with care to ensure a steady supply of this liquid gold. Honey wasn't just food, it was currency, medicine, and the cornerstone of preservation in a world without refrigeration. In every drop of honey lies a story of nature and human ingenuity, a sweet connection bridging centuries of culinary tradition. Medieval castles weren't just imposing fortresses of stone, they were masterpieces of practical architecture, designed with one critical purpose in mind: preserving food for survival. Every element you see, the thick walls, the secret shafts, the ledges and shelves, was meticulously engineered to protect and prolong the life of precious provisions. Take the ventilation shafts, for example. These narrow, carefully placed channels controlled airflow throughout the storage rooms, ensuring cool, fresh air circulated consistently. This helped regulate temperature and humidity, two vital factors that could make or break an entire season's worth of food. And those seemingly simple ledges. They weren't just shelves. Many were designed to be rodent-proof, featuring overhangs and smooth stone surfaces that pests simply couldn't climb. This built-in defense helped keep stores safe from the constant threat of hungry vermin. Even cheese aging rooms were marvels of design. The angled stone shelves served a dual purpose, allowing any moisture to drain away, preventing mold and rot, while maintaining the perfect cool environment needed for cheeses to mature slowly and develop their signature flavors. In every nook and cranny, food preservation was not an afterthought. It was integrated into the very bones of the castle. Architecture met necessity in a symphony of stone and strategy, proving that medieval builders were not just warriors, but ingenious food engineers. Within the sprawling stone walls of medieval castles, food preservation was a well-oiled machine, thanks in large part to an entire network of specialized rooms, each designed to safeguard a specific category of sustenance. The buttery was more than just a storage room, it was the castle's liquid treasury. Here, barrels of ale, wine, and mead were carefully kept at stable temperatures, ready to fuel celebrations, banquets, and everyday life alike. This room was all about controlling moisture and temperature to ensure drinks stayed fresh and palatable. Next came the pantry, a bustling hub where breads, dried fruits, nuts, and other dry goods were stored. Breads were stacked and rotated regularly, making sure they stayed crumbly and fresh without molding. The pantry's design minimized humidity and exposure to pests, preserving the staples that formed the backbone of any meal. Then there was the spicery, a room that held treasures from faraway lands. Rare, imported spices like cinnamon, cloves, and pepper were guarded carefully, kept in sealed containers to maintain their potency. These seasonings were highly valuable, transforming simple dishes into sumptuous feasts, and symbolizing wealth and prestige. Finally, the cheese aging rooms were a world of their own, with perfectly tuned humidity and airflow. Here, cheeses matured slowly on carefully angled shelves, developing rich flavors and textures that took weeks, or even months, to reach perfection. Each of these rooms played a crucial role in the preservation puzzle, turning the castle into a well-organized fortress not just of defense, but of food security, an incredible feat of medieval innovation that still echoes in modern food storage. All this intricate food preservation didn't happen by chance. It was the product of a dedicated and highly skilled workforce, often numbering over 50 experts. From as young as 12 years old, apprentices entered the castle kitchens, learning the delicate art of food preservation through hands-on training. These young novices weren't just fetching water or chopping onions. They were being groomed to become the next generation of culinary chemists and preservation specialists. At the top of this hierarchy were the masters, seasoned professionals whose expertise was so vital that their wages could be measured in livestock. Imagine earning the medieval equivalent of 30 sheep a year just for knowing how to keep food fresh and safe. That was their value in the castle economy. These weren't merely cooks flipping pans. They were scientists and engineers of their time, understanding the complex chemistry of salt, smoke, and fermentation. They managed delicate balances of temperature, humidity, and timing like modern-day lab technicians. Beyond the science, they were also managers, overseeing teams, scheduling preservation cycles, and ensuring nothing went to waste. Their work kept the castle fed, armies strong, and communities thriving, proof that food was the foundation of medieval power. Managing a castle's vast food stores was no small feat. Imagine tracking thousands of pounds of meat, barrels of pickles, wheels of cheese, and crates of wine, all moving in and out daily. To keep this sprawling inventory in check, medieval kitchens relied on surprisingly sophisticated systems of organization. Barrels were marked with symbols or initials to identify their contents at a glance, sometimes adorned with coded graffiti or tally marks added by busy kitchen hands, a kind of medieval shorthand only insiders fully understood. Parchment logs, carefully recorded by scribes, detailed quantities, dates, and storage locations. These handwritten ledgers were the backbone of supply chain management, a paper trail that ensured nothing was lost or spoiled. Then there were tally sticks, simple wooden tools carved with notches representing amounts, exchanged like currency or proof of delivery. This analog technology was a crucial accounting method that kept the castle's food economy running smoothly. It was medieval inventory management in its purest form, an intricate system operating long before spreadsheets, databases, or barcodes. Just a blend of sharp minds, keen eyes, and organized hands, all working to sustain a kingdom. In the medieval world, timing was more than just a schedule, it was a matter of survival. The castle kitchens followed a rhythm dictated by the seasons, a carefully orchestrated calendar that shaped every preservation task. Spring marked the beginning of an intense period. Pickling and smoking were in full swing, turning fresh vegetables, eggs, and meats into long-lasting stores before the abundance faded. Summer was a time of sun and patience. Herbs hung from rafters to dry in warm breezes, preserving their flavors for winter stews. It was also when salt, this precious gold, was carefully stockpiled, ensuring there was enough to last through the colder months. As autumn arrived, the castle buzzed with the energy of the harvest. Fruits, grains, and vegetables were gathered, dried, fermented, or salted. Every edible bounty was processed with precision, because once winter's chill set in, fresh food became scarce. Winter itself was a season of restraint. Rationing was enforced as kitchens turned to their preserved reserves, stretching every morsel to feed hundreds through cold, dark months. This seasonal food calendar was the invisible heartbeat of the castle. A cycle in perfect harmony with the land's natural rhythms, a timeless dance between human ingenuity and nature's gifts. Picture the passing of the year through the eyes of a medieval castle's bustling kitchens, a place where every day, every action, was shaped by nature's unyielding clock. In those times, timing was not just about convenience or tradition, it was the very essence of survival. Food preservation wasn't random. It was a carefully choreographed dance with the seasons, a sophisticated calendar that dictated the castle's entire culinary strategy. As spring blossomed, the castle's food workers launched into one of the busiest periods of the year. This was the season for pickling and smoking, a race against time to transform fresh vegetables, eggs, and meats into durable provisions before the fleeting abundance of the growing season slipped away. Huge barrels were filled with onions, cabbages, and wild herbs, while smokehouses billowed with fragrant wood smoke that infused and preserved meat, locking in flavor and safety for months ahead. Come summer, the atmosphere shifted to one of patience and preservation through sunlight. The castle's rafters and beams were draped with bundles of herbs, sage, thyme, rosemary, left to dry slowly in warm, gentle breezes. These dried herbs would later infuse soups and sauces during the harsh winter months. Meanwhile, salt, the lifeblood of preservation, was carefully measured and stockpiled in vast quantities. This white gold was priceless, its careful hoarding ensuring that the castle's inhabitants would never go hungry when fresh food became a distant memory. Then autumn arrived, heralding the season of the harvest, when the castle grounds and surrounding lands pulsed with frenetic energy. Fields were cleared, fruit was picked, and grains were gathered. The kitchens became a hive of activity as fruits were jarred, grains stored in granaries, and vegetables fermented or salted with expert precision. Every edible item was accounted for, processed with care and foresight. This was the moment when the bounty of the year was transformed into provisions that would sustain the castle's residents through the darkest months ahead. When winter finally cast its long shadow, the castle's kitchens moved into a phase of careful rationing and conservation. Fresh food was scarce, and every preserved morsel mattered. Kitchens relied heavily on smoked meats, salted fish, pickled vegetables, and dried herbs. Meals were stretched, portions measured, and waste avoided at all costs. It was a season of discipline, where the success of the previous month's efforts was tested by the harsh, cold outside stone walls. This seasonal food calendar was far more than just a timeline. It was the invisible heartbeat of the castle's life. It was a masterful interplay of human skill and natural cycles, a timeless testament to the ingenuity and resilience that allowed medieval communities to thrive, all while living in harmony with the earth's own rhythms. As the echoes of medieval kitchens fade away, remember, every dish we enjoy today carries the stories of those who came before us. If you've enjoyed this journey into the art and science of ancient food preservation, don't miss what's next. Subscribe to Legendary Feasts, your gateway to fascinating culinary history, where every episode uncovers the secrets behind the flavors that shaped civilizations. Because here, the past isn't just history, it's always just a bite away.